This is the Ambitious Creators Podcast with your host, Max Sinclair. How's it going? This is Max. This is another episode of the Ambitious Creators Podcast, number 5, and I'm doing it myself. This is like Diplo and Friends when it's just Diplo. This is just me. I am here to impart some stuff that I've learned to you from the last 6 years or so of me running my own startups. In particular today, I want to talk to you about lessons from closing down your startup. So recently I closed down Eco Companion Limited, which is a business I ran for 5 years, put my life into it, gave everything up for it, and ultimately had to decide to close down that business. The short version of it was I realized that it was not my purpose. It wasn't the big reason for my existence, basically, to actualize that. It was a very important mission, but it wasn't my mission. But I was as in as you can get. I got it tattooed on my wrist, which is still a great memory for me, and I'm happy with that. I'm still wearing the t-shirts for free. I've got Eco Companion free t-shirts. I was all in. So what lessons did I take from that, and how might they help you if you're someone who's either yourself potentially going to end up having to close down a startup, or might know someone who needs to? That's also another way to look at this. So I've got 6 things that I want to point out. 1, while you do learn from failure, it's the effort of trying that is key. So people always talk about fail fast, failure's fine, etc. Really, the reason why they say that and you learn so much from failure is very true, and you do learn a lot from failure, but you also learn a lot from succeeding and achieving. So if I run a startup, commit fully, deliver on it for 5 years and put my heart and soul into it, I learn a shit ton. That's the answer. But you still learn a shit ton if it works out or if it fails. You might learn slightly different lessons, but you're still going to learn tons. So failure is still failure. And it sucks. Like, it sucks to let down your family who might have invested in you literally, but also just like their time and effort into you and your business. You failed your team. There's the people around you who you've told, you've inspired them into this kind of vision for a future that has ultimately failed. You failed investors who have literally put like £170,000 they put into Eco Companion for me, and I failed them. We have myself more than anything, to be honest. Obviously, I failed myself. I said that I was going to achieve something, and ultimately I gave up on that dream. So failure is failure, and it's horrible. It's the hardest decision I ever had to make. So don't pretend that failure is anything other than failure. Number 2, confirmation bias is real. So confirmation bias is when you make yourself believe that something is the right thing for you because you know that it hurts to not believe that. I made myself, I would even hear myself say the words that Eco Companion is not necessarily quite right for me, or at the very least what it became was not quite right for me, but I couldn't bring myself to accept that truth because it was horrible. The thought of 4 years of my life, or 2, 3, 4 years, wherever it was in the journey, was all towards a goal which was actually wrong for me. That's a horrible, scary thought for anyone. And this happens in much smaller ways too, like, is the business model the right one? Like, if you've kept saying for 2 years, no, we should be a advertising system rather than a tour operator, or whatever it might be was one for us, it's so hard to then just be like, you know what, I was completely wrong. I was an idiot for 2-3 years. I looked at it the wrong way, and so all of that was for nothing, and I now need to change the entire business model around that. Things like that in so many different levels. So having a really frank truth and listening to your haters sometimes can help you to avoid that, but it ultimately is a very hard thing to get around, which I struggled with for some major decisions. I did do well in other ways, and I've ultimately chosen to close it down, so I've recognized that confirmation bias. Number 3, your debts are your company's debts. So I just wanted to make this very clear because I didn't know this before, but when I was closing down Eco Companion, I felt like I was stuck in a trap. I had a debt of, I think it's around £5,000 to £10,000 or so, And to me, I had no money, I was broken. My other business had really struggled because of an external factor which had hit us very hard. And so there was no money, and I felt like I was trapped. I was in tears. I was broken as a man. This was back in kind of January, February time, at the start of this year. And it's horrible for the founder because of all the reasons I've been talking about already. But the very important thing is that money owed is not owed by you. So as long as you've not made any kind of very stupid decisions like sticking personal liability, where you specifically have put into a contract of some kind that you're personally liable, which you should basically never do, then you're fine. Your company can die, because your company is ultimately a person, it's an entity that can die. And when that dies, the debt dies with it. So you can escape, you can break free, you can go and start new ideas, you can go and start a normal job if you want to leave startup world altogether, and it's okay. You're not stuck with that 10K debt, you're not going to go to jail, you're not going to have any kind of horrible repercussions. That's exactly why corporations were created, was to allow people to try ideas but not have it completely destroy their life because of it. The next one is kind of connected into this. As long as you do close your business off properly, so I got help from a really good accountancy firm, Bennett Brooks. Like if it wasn't for doing things the right way, you can go to jail, you can get in very serious trouble. A free version of this help is the Business Debtline. The Debtline is the company, and then there's Business Debtline is a really, really good resource. So it's one of the first people I called up when I started to just be honest to myself, saying, you know what, maybe it's time to close this business down. I called them up and they gave me amazing advice. If anything, just to kind of reassure you that you're okay. Like I really was, I honestly, I almost was went into tears talking to the Debtline people, because it was such a understanding call of the struggle and pain that I was going through at that moment, having to close down my own business and in this huge amount of debt. So these kind of reassuring voices. And the other big thing to point out within that point is investors will not look down on you even. Like people who have tried a business and it's ultimately failed and then they've moved on and they've started something new, you're still a second-time founder. You've still gone through years and years of learning about running a business. So of course, actually, it's shown largely that it's a bit of a debate in this, but overall, more often, you'll be more successful if you're a founder who's already done one startup and it's failed than someone who's doing their very first startup ever. Because obviously, I have learned 10,000 things over the last 5 years connected to startups. So I'm a much more experienced, effective founder, and that's been proven because my second business now, Snowball Creations, has escalated like hell. Like it's grown 10 times faster than Eco Companion ever dreamt of, kind of thing, and it's continuing to do that, and we're developing even faster. So don't think that you're going to never be able to start a second business or be looked upon badly. Number 5, the sooner you take the plunge, the quicker you will regain your freedom. I've got to learn to code. I've had amazing stuff I've got to do because I closed down Eco Companion. And if I hadn't made that decision back in February, maybe I did it at the end of this year, I wouldn't have had these 6 months of learning to code. So that, just make the jump. If you know it's going to happen, do it. And the very last one I want to finish on is no one else can ever tell you when it's right to close your business. Only you can know that. And I think the two main things I think about are, one, is the idea actually executable still? So do you think that there's a path forward towards success? And number 2 is it right for you? Is it something that you genuinely think spending the next 5 to 10 years of your life on it is what you want to do? Is it actually still exciting? Is it still inspiring? Is it something that's important to you? Those two are the things. Can you actually deliver on it? Is it actually what you want to do? Ask those 2 questions of yourself, and that's the deciding factor whether it's right or wrong to close down your business. And so hopefully all of this stuff has helped. This is a really hard thing to go through, so if you are, then feel free to email me or leave a comment and let me know, and I'm always happy to help. Otherwise, I hope this has helped, this video, and I'll be seeing you hopefully next week.